The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. That's what we're talking about here today. Now, before we go into the charts, before we go into where we're at in the market, let's just break down where we're at and what's happening. Now, we look at the market overall, and there wasn't too much action. We'll go into the charts, etc. But you're really waiting on your key data, which is going to be specifically Nvidia earnings, and you even have CrowdStrike and CRM tomorrow as well. But then going into Friday, you have your PCE data inflation report, and there's a lot of speculation that this inflation report might be higher than expected. And it's already, if you see the junk behind me, still unpacking, still a mess, but the show goes on. Let's get to work. Now, the first thing we jump in and we can see, again, the same key level has been here. It's around 19.7. And we're continuing to kind of reject below that. We're sitting in a little bit of a channel. I wouldn't really call this a flag. You're above previous 19.4 levels, which is kind of what we expected on that retest and push back down in the day. But we're just kind of consolidating here. We have a little bit of time left here in the day, but we're trying to just get this going and get this out to you guys. You go into something like ES, and again, kind of more the same, just consolidating sideways, a little bit weaker than yesterday, nothing really fantastic. You go into Dow one step further to get a better direction of what's happening there. Looks good, holding up. I wouldn't argue that Dow looks bad, and I think it looks good as well. Overall, the market's just continuing in this sideways direction, and I think everyone's kind of panicking, or looking at some of these stocks and like, okay, well, this is dumping, this is bad. Not really. Like, I mean, I look at something like Meta, or let's go to XLK, for instance, tech-heavy names. And again, you're kind of coming into resistance, 227, same exact level, goes back further. But again, and then kind of consolidating here. Again, we don't expect to just go up in a parabolic line forever, as cool as that may be. You're hitting that level and then kind of retracing. I would call this a flag, but again, we want to get above that support and key level before we really get aggressive on that, upside continuation. But something that's really in tangent here is SMH semiconductors, because you can see this is kind of the shape of the way the market's moving right now as well. Parabolic push up, consolidating back on support 239, pushing back up as we speak. So again, I still think you look really good, broad based on the market, but I think the market's just really waiting on what comes out of this, report with Nvidia. And again, I personally believe Nvidia is going to have halfway decent earnings. It just continues to improve, and it continues to surprise everyone, but I don't even think beating is a surprise anymore. But I will say Nvidia has direct implications of what will happen on the Nasdaq specifically. The market except Nvidia. If we had to get rid of Nvidia and look at everything else, I still think you look incredible. Like, for instance, we go over here, we look at the heat map. The market in general looks pretty damn good. Obviously, Nvidia semiconductors had a green day. Google, Meta kind of flat downish. But again, most of these names are performing good. You have some energy names kind of slowing down. They had a monster day yesterday. You have healthcare kind of slowing down a little bit, but still getting a little bit of continuation. But the rest of the market looks really good. Like, straight continuation so far to the upside, despite what everyone may think. Again, this continues to keep that bullish sense. And guys, also, if you're interested, this platform, this is what I used to do all my trading for options, everything in between. This is Mumu, so make sure you check them out. The link is down below if you want to support the channel. All these other platforms are going down. This is the one that I use every single day. Customer support, get them right on the line. That's the biggest thing for me. So make sure you check these guys out. So going a little bit further though, right? Let's see what we expect here with SPY and Qs, because I think sometimes you guys like SPY and Qs more. And again, I think this just verifies what I'm saying. Just sideways consolidation, and you're consolidating where? You go to the daily here, you're consolidating at highs. Like, we need to understand consolidation at highs is typically pretty good behavior. For anyone calling for some type of double top, for instance, I see this a lot now, people are saying you're going to push up and you're going to reject. Well, you don't have that answer. Like, if Nvidia reports terrible and it comes out bad, then I would suspect, yeah, you probably drop heavy, and it brings down most tech and overall Nasdaq and SPY. And it probably won't hurt Dow as much, but it will hurt the market nonetheless. But if Nvidia reports great and they continue with this outlook, which most likely they do be, and they get continuation, you're probably going to break this all-time high. Probably going to happen. Okay, going into Qs. Now, I will say Qs are the ones that have all the catch-up to play here, right? So if I get rid of some of these levels and make it really clear, you have these are your primary levels, I'm going to tell you right now. But again, if you can get above and hold above these levels and get back into like 480 plus, again, with, semiconductors helping you, I think you're going to move with ease. It's important to understand too, some of your biggest holdings in the Nasdaq are AVGO, Nvidia, semiconductor names. So again, once these names start heating up, I think it's going to be hard to get them to slow down. Personal opinion there. But again, going into these earnings, I do think, and it makes sense that you're getting some pullback, some chop, you're not getting any clear movement. Now, to be net bearish on the overall market, I would want to see us get below 19.4, 19.3. Breaking below this level, I think it like all but confirms that, you know, sellers are in control at that point. In this range of 19.7 to 19.4, I think you're kind of just in limbo. So again, you break below, you're looking for that key downside continuation. You play the limbo, you don't really expect too much, and you don't have confirmation. Okay, so that's the important thing to understand there. Now, going into Nvidia earnings, stocks I'm liking along those lines, really clear. AMD, AVGO, ARM, those are my top ones. I think ARM has room to be the big winner. I'm going to tell you right now. ARM above 136 has room to around 148. Above 148, you're going into, and you have room into 163, then all-time highs. So I'd be watching ARM closely. Big fan of what they're doing. Their earnings have been pretty great, all things considered, and they have a lot of growth outlook on them. AMD, another good name here. Getting above the 200 SMA is what you want to see. Above 158, above that, I think you have signs of continuation as well. So again, keep that on your watch list and make sure you're paying close attention to them as well. And then last one I mentioned was AVGO. Again, getting above like 165 is what you're looking for to push into 173 and then back into all-time highs as well. You know, we can go look at some of these options as well. And again, you're going to see that dated contracts on these aren't that like expensive in my opinion. You can even go something short day like October, like on AMD for 160s, it's about $6-7. I think that's very affordable. That's right above the 200 SMA. And again, chances are you run to 170 if you get above the 200 SMA. Going into something like AVGO, and these are just contracts that I like, so you know, do what you got to do. But again, AVGO, again, something like October's give you 40, 30 days out, 52 days out to be exact. Again, like 170s, $7, 7.4, and I think you have earnings coming up as well there. So again, like you're just gonna see like these names, like that's the potential that you're looking at here. ARM, I think maybe the riskier name, but also the biggest reward opportunity. Remember, all-time highs on ARM, you know, we go back and look, you know, all-time highs around 190, 188. You know, you're able to buy 150s for October for around $5-6. This thing can move quick, it can move volatile, and when buyers step in, buyers really step in here. So another reason why I like the name and I watch them so closely, would I be paying attention there as well? Now, what I will say is that there's a certain area of the market that's not getting enough mention, in my opinion, and I've talked a lot about them. CrowdStrike, CRM, cloud names specifically. You have earnings on these names as well coming into tomorrow. Okay, CrowdStrike, I think, is one of the big underdogs here, and I think you need to be paying close attention. Now, ideally, you would see good earnings with not great movement, right? So you're already seeing kind of like a flag here at the 274 level. Above 274, it's a buy, but I think as a stock, CrowdStrike's already a buy. Keep that in mind. Do what you want with information. I'm a big fan here long term. And I think it's just a good overall name. Next one is going to be CRM. Also has earnings tomorrow, grinding below 200 SMA. If CRM can somehow manage to get above the 200 SMA with good earnings, you have a lot of room back to the upside here. This whole sector has kind of been torched because of the FUD and because of the news that came out over the past month. So again, keep them on your radar. I would be watching these closely. Some of my favorite names right now as well. And I definitely think as far as stock, you can make your money here as well. You do have Lulu and Ulta earnings as well on Thursday. I'll go more into that going into the end of the week. But I want to focus at what's in front of us right now. Another big name I'm watching here is Apple. I've been talking a lot about it. Above 228, I think it's a buy. You get some trash movement on the day. You kind of get above here, and you're kind of stagnating here at 228. I still like it a lot. But yeah, choppy action here. You need help from indexes. Indexes go, Apple goes. It's really that simple, in my opinion. Just keep it on the, you know, I'd be watching Apple closely. I'm a big fan of what's happening here as well. Last things I want to go over real quick, and I kind of did this video a little bit backwards, but DXY continuing to move in that right direction, obviously breaking down through support. Not what you wanted to see here if you were kind of a bear. You wanted to see a DXY hold the support, and you're coming down to the 200 SMA. 30-year yields also kind of moving in that direction, still sitting around 4%. You have to anticipate after PCE data on Friday, you get more continuation in your overall direction here as well on the 30-year yield. Understand that. But again, like when you're going into these catalyst days, I'm going to tell you right now, like you got to be kind of like, and I mentioned it yesterday, like you got to be patient. You got to be cautious because these are when you lose your money. Like look at Q's on the day. Q's volume so far in the day is like 23 million. Like that's terrible. That's like pretty, it's awful, right? You know, we're going to come in probably right under 30 million in the day. That's atrocious. That's terrible, terrible volume. But it explains the lack of movement, the lack of volatility. Like there's no real question mark of like, wait, why aren't we moving? Well, the volume is trash today. It's probably a terrible time to be trading. So understand what's happening there. Like, it's not just a mystery. There's, we're consolidating sideways, going into a specific earnings, and it's obviously gonna have big implications on the market. So again, things I'm looking at, things I'm watching, there's no reason, and I see a lot of people like overcomplicating this, but there really is no reason to overcomplicate it. A lot of the answers are typically right in front of us. I think today is like one of those days you like hit the brakes, pause, wait for earnings to come out, then you attack, and you kind of reassess where you're at. That's my opinion on the market. Not the craziest video today. Keep you guys updated. I'll post tomorrow as well. Make sure you're following on Twitter. Today was a really slow day. Wasn't posting that much on Twitter, but again, if I have anything I'm going to post, it's always free there on Twitter, so make sure you're checking it out. Okay, see you tomorrow.